Ole Miss beat Oklahoma 34-26. I got to be real with Lane Kiffin. I doubted him. I doubted that Lane Kiffin could win this game yesterday, and to a degree, Ole Miss. But they won it. That SEC 11 a.m. window is pretty wild right now, by the way. 3.5 Chalai game. Very entertaining game there. Weather left a lot to be desired. Oklahoma's defense left a lot to be desired. Or were they always ripe to be picked off? And Ole Miss just finally ended up being the one to do it. So I was confident that Oklahoma would win this game. So I whiffed on this one. We hit on a lot of other stuff, but I whiffed on this one. We did learn lessons, though. So it was a real gut check moment for Ole Miss. They really schooled Oklahoma's defense. And to be fair, I think I said this on the show last Wednesday or Thursday. We didn't have a show Wednesday. I said I was getting some feedback from coaches around the league, and there were a lot of coaches around the SEC who thought OU's corners may be in trouble here. Like, it's good defense overall, but the corners aren't elite. The secondary is not elite. And, you know, I thought the dynamics were against Ole Miss so much that I kind of ignored it. I shouldn't have, because OU secondary kind of got, I wouldn't say exposed, but just targeted and victimized a little bit more than you've seen all year. 7 passes in this game accounted for over 200 yards for Ole Miss. Kawan Lacey had 78 yards, but they were a big 78 yards rushing. 27 carries for 78 yards. That's under 3 yards per carry. Normally that stat line indicates you got stuffed. I did not feel like that watching Kawan Lacey against Oklahoma yesterday. So it was a huge gut check moment. And I'll go over the dynamics again in a second. The reason, you know, in retrospect, why you may ask me, why'd you like Oklahoma so much? Well, I'll tell you. I told you before, I'll tell you again. OU was real hollow yesterday offensively, though. This is the other thing that stood out to me. This is where Pete Golding and his defense deserves a lot of credit, because Oklahoma did get to 26, so they got it to, you know, one possession, and it looks like it's a close game, and some of the offensive stat lines look kind of semi-okay, but OU had a 76-yard and a 65-yard touchdown pass and run. You can't ever shave the explosives out. Explosives are a key part of the game. Those are 2 cap-buster explosive plays. The reason I say it was a hollow performance is because there's a big difference when you put up, you know, like 400 total yards, let's say, and it's just a product of a bunch of sustained drives. Then there's another kind of game where 2 plays account for 50% of your total yardage, and the rest of the afternoon, they kind of handled you. The latter kind of describes how Ole Miss handled Oklahoma here, because outside of those 2 explosives, it's kind of a paper popper, I would say. OU had 14 first downs. They were 5 of 17 on 3rd and 4th down. They had 7 drives of 4 plays or less in this game. So it wasn't a bend but don't break, because Ole Miss broke a couple of times. Other than that, they didn't even bend a whole lot. It was a subpar game from John Mateer again. One of the lamest things that people are doing to me right now is sending me bills in the mail. The second most lame thing people are doing is they keep on making fun of me for betting this kid to win the Heisman. And I don't know, I had to ask Jesse today, because I sometimes need my memory jogged. Did he not have surgery on his throwing hand literally within the last month? Yes, I'm being told yes, that did happen. It's not the biggest shock in the world that the passing numbers have tailed off. And for anyone who wants to say that was going to happen anyway, you don't know that. You don't know that. So he was 17 of 31, 223. One of those was a big play. Very pedestrian. I kind of think he is what he is at this point. I would view him as very limited, you know, because they had to cut his hand open a couple of weeks ago. That tends to happen when you have surgery on your throwing hand. No matter how much your doctor posts on an Oklahoma message board that everything's okay, sometimes it's not okay. The dynamics were against Ole Miss. Let me tell you why I thought Oklahoma was going to win this game. We'll get back to the video 1 second. Do me one quick favor. Look down. Make sure you're subscribed. Most of you are. If you're not, please do so. It's the way we keep the channel free, we keep the videos coming, and we get to do college football year-round as God intended. All right, as promised, back to the video. Actually 3 or 4 things. It was the second leg of a back-to-back road spot for Ole Miss, so that's always tough. It was tough for several other teams yesterday. You had the Florida rumors surrounding Lane Kiffin, and we were fresh off a week where we saw Matt Rule's team just implode at Minnesota after everyone had speculated about him in Penn State all week. Now, Lane's a little more used to this, so maybe I should have dismissed that more than I did. He had not had a single ranked road win in his entire career at Ole Miss, so he was going to have to accomplish a first in very trying circumstances. And probably the most tangible football-related aspect, they had just played a week before, and they had guys, I heard McElroy talk about this in the broadcast, a bunch of their guys on the defensive line played a ton of snaps. They were on the field over 80 plays the week before, but they have no depth. So they had defensive linemen play over 80 snaps the week before. And I thought that OU was going to own the second half because of that. And it just never turned out that way because they couldn't sustain anything. That's where the credit goes. Now, it would be nice if Ole Miss had a bye this week. They don't. They play South Carolina. It is no longer Cocktober. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But nevertheless, they play South Carolina this weekend. Ole Miss, right now, is a one-loss team. Their one loss is to Georgia. They've already gotten through LSU. They went to Georgia. They went to OU, and they went 2-1 in that stretch. And they didn't drop a game they weren't supposed to before that. So, they had no breathing room this time last year because they dropped the Kentucky game. This year, ironically, the Kentucky game and the Washington State game were kind of close, but they won both of them. So now they have breathing room. So I don't know how many scenarios there are where Ole Miss doesn't make the playoff. They've got one loss, so they don't have a ton of wiggle room, but they play South Carolina, Citadel, Florida, and at Mississippi State. I guess the schedule's right in front of me. They'll be favored in all four. Doesn't mean they win all four. They could drop one, though, and still make the playoff. So it's right there, man. If they blow this one, they've really found a way to blow it. Oklahoma is now a 2-loss team. Look, everyone's firing their coaches right now. And I know there's going to be a fair amount of, traction and noise around Brent Venables. I'm not there at all on Brent Venables. You guys can say whatever you want to. They're probably not done losing. My guess, when they got to go to Knoxville and to Tuscaloosa, and they got Missouri and LSU to close the season, probably one or two more losses on there. They kind of are who they are at that point. We picked them to go 8-4. That would still be my pick for OU to go 8-4. Just, again, like I said, coming out of last year, it's not a disaster. You don't need wholesale changes, maybe some position coach changes, which happens every year anyway. Yeah, but fire Brent Venables? No, I'm not there. It's not my program. It's your guys' program, but I'm not there.